Welcome back. We're continuing Clark County today. David Medor interviewing, having a conversation here with David Hedrick. We're talking about the currency, getting back to the Tea Party, which is a means for relearning our Constitution, the principles that made our country great. And that's a good thing. I've heard the Tea Party been portrayed in the media as right-wing extremists, as all these negative terms. Why is that? I mean, my experience is that they're people, they're friends and neighbors, just relearning what should be still taught in school. They've been very decent people.
Well, I think it's one of those things where if you can't argue against their message, argue against the messenger. Try to paint that messenger as an evil person who wants to go out and destroy the world and do all these evil things. And if you can do that, no one will listen to the messenger in the first place. I think that's kind of the idea. And we see that on the left, we see it in the media. And I've been at a lot of Tea Party rallies. I mean, I speak at a lot of Tea Party rallies. And I've never seen, hate at Tea Party rallies. I've never seen, bigotry and racism and, all of those things that they portray. Well, they must be at the other Tea Parties because I've never seen them at one I've attended. And, it's the Tea Party isn't about that. And the Tea Party isn't about even Republican, Democrat. It's not about that. It's about holding representatives accountable and returning to the foundational values that our country, where we came from. And it's about returning to the Constitution. And you find people at the Tea Party that don't agree on everything. And I have a lot of friends where, we're all Tea Party people and we have different opinions on many different issues where we don't line up perfectly. But the Constitution is kind of where we intersect, where we say, okay, well, let's go to this and let's solve the problem. And, I think that's a lot of what the Tea Party is doing. And they're not just holding Democrats accountable, they're holding Republicans accountable. And I think that as people see more and more of that, and they see that, while they may align more with Republicans on many issues, they're not Republican necessarily. They're the Tea Party. And they'll hold the Republican representatives just as accountable as they will the Democrats.
Which is a good idea in any case. Then we have we the people and Tea Party. What's the relationship?
Well, I think We the People is kind of our local, if you're referring to the local We the People chapter there, I think that's kind of our local Tea Party hub is how I feel. They're kind of where the Tea Party comes together and organizes and becomes educated. And that's one of the great things I think We the People has done is they have focused on education. If you talk to their members that are regular members and attend their meetings, you will find people that are well-read. They can tell you who Samuel Adams is and they can tell you what he wrote. They can tell you the theories behind not just the Constitution, what's in the Constitution, but the theories behind it and why they did what they did. And so these are very bright intellectual people. And they're often portrayed as the opposite, which is humorous because they're actually, they're smart people in that room. And I think that, I see We the People as bringing them together, educating them, and then not only educating them, but then giving them a direction and saying, okay, now we're going to bring the candidates in. You've been educated, you know what the Constitution means, you know the founding. Let's bring all the candidates in, Democrat, Republican, we're inviting all of them. And you're going to vet them, you're going to ask them questions, and you're going to see if they're consistent with the values that you have and the values our nation was founded on. And so first they make an educated citizenry, and then what they're trying to do is then show them, okay, if it's the person you're going to back or the idea you're going to back, whether it's the Columbia River crossing, look at these things that we can do in our community that aren't necessarily reflecting the values that our founders had. And now let's go out and let's try to fix them, branch out and accomplish things.
So the Tea Party or the We the People, it's the focus there is not just the federal government. It's not just simply the top end, but all the way at every level. You're talking about local level, your local city council, even your local school board. Is that true?
Absolutely. And I think we often when you listen to talk radio and everything, so much is focused on the federal government. But we have to realize that our founders wanted a very local government because they understood that in our own backyard, we can go out and solve problems. We can't talk to, you can't go talk to Jamie Herrera every day. It's difficult. She's in Washington, D.C. There's, I'm sure you can access her, but it's much more easy to go talk to perhaps Mayor Leavitt, show up at his meetings. And if you don't agree with what he's doing, let him know. If you do agree with what he's doing, let him know. And they understood that when they're in your own community and when government's right here, they're accessible to the people, and they're not only are they accessible, but there's consequences to their decisions, and it's immediately felt because the people are right there,
yes.
And the people will let them feel it.
Right, and there's two ways. You can either go to the city council meetings or these formal meetings and just simply have a timed little slice in time to be able to talk to them or say something. They can't even say anything back normally. Or you can invite them to have a conversation with you. And I know We the People have done that. In fact, just a couple of months ago, Tim Levitt, along with a number of other individuals, have been invited to speak, and they had a lot of questions, and it was a very healthy interaction. That was very good. I would also extend to each of the elected people, anybody who has authority, anybody who really has an informed position on any issue, you're invited to come sit down and talk, and regardless of where the position is, to get this out in the open so that we can talk about it, we can interact, we can have transparency, openness, honesty, truth, forthrightness, all of those things that move us in the direction of being more informed. It's not just the informed, just looking at our history back then and the foundations and the principles and the Constitution that keep us all on track, but it's also just keeping informed as to our local representatives now, our issues that face us now, and how do they play out with our form of government? Is it consistent with it or not? I see a lot of inconsistencies here. I'm new to this whole thing. I've been involved in about a year, and I'm surprised to see what I see. And I think it's surely a result of citizens not being involved. We've been just too busy with our businesses and with our jobs, our school, our kids, our families. And we have to participate. We have to get involved. Otherwise, who's going to fill that gap?
Right. And that's our responsibility. I mean, if we care about our children, the next generation we're leaving behind, it's up to us, to stand up and to go, like I said, go to those meetings and get the education, number one. And then once you have that education, use it by going out and actually making something happen with it. And I think that's what the Tea Party has done, is it's taken people that have been sitting on their couch, screaming at the television for years saying, I want this and I know this is wrong and what do I do? And they've said, okay, we're gonna hold a rally, we're gonna show up at these events, we're actually going to take that knowledge that you have, and we're going to go out there and we're gonna use it. And we're gonna put it, for work, for good in our community.
Yes.
And we have to do that as citizens. If we want a better community, it's up to us to actually make it happen.
Right. The citizens need to be able to connect with each other in our community. And that's part of what we're doing here. That's we're attempting to empower people so that people can speak without a filter. So you don't have to go to the newspaper and see what they print and their side of the story, because they have their agenda too. They have their viewpoint, and it would be better to not have that filtered.
Yes. And a lot of people are starting to use, and that's one of the social media things, they're using other avenues. Like, this is going to be a great way where they're going around. They're not going through the paper anymore. They're not acting as a filter, interpreting.
Papers are on the way down.
Yes.
And direct communication is on its way up.
Yes.
I look at just the internet, the ability for the internet to be able to turn on the lights and let people figure out what's going on out there. I asked our pastor, he has a daughter that's serving in Tunisia. Why did the people reject their government there? And the answer was that the CRC leaks. Well, CRC leaks, what that had to do with changing the government out, taking out a dictator and tyrants in government. And it was that the people discovered that the person in charge was a tyrant. And it was disrespected by the community, the world community. And that is also the case when it comes to Egypt. A big dictator like that, turn on the lights. The ability for people to be able to see, to hear firsthand what was hidden from them before. So get things out in the open.
Right.
So this has been a challenge, and it's a fun experience for us to be able to go through. We're learning how to do it, and I'm encouraged to see us all moving in that direction.
Absolutely, it's great. And it gives people the chance too that, have run for office or are running for office or working in politics. It's great to, you hear the story that I told today, you would never have gotten that story from the Columbia. No. You never would have gotten it you got it directly from my mouth here.
Yep.
And that's how the whole story is out there. And
I just wish that your wife wasn't so shy that she could come on and she could say, yeah, that's really, the scoop. Be able to hear from her as well.
She's camera shy, she is. She did good at the trial, but she's quite camera shy. She wrote a statement too. The Columbian had put the whole thing in there online originally, and then they had pulled it and only put a small segment of it. where she actually, and I'll make sure you get a copy of that. I don't know if you can link it somehow.
We can link it.
Okay, yeah. She had done, this is early in the process. This was before the no contact was actually still in place. I haven't even spoken to her yet. And she had actually already written this paper and sent it to the Columbian, and basically saying that I hadn't done anything and that it was her.
Well, here's just one idea. If your wife is a little camera shy, whatever, yeah, maybe she can write something and she can sign it, and, you know, just to be able to communicate to people who want to know, to hear from her, and at least in some respect, is this the straight scoop? Are we getting one side of the issue here? Are you really backing up your husband, or you feel pressured on this thing? So it would be helpful. I would encourage her, but no pressure, just to allow her to be able to have her voice as well.
Right, sure. Yeah, and we'll make sure you get something like that. Yeah, she's you know, I said this earlier, you know, she has her own career and her own, you know, and this kind of, you know, when this kind of thing happens, it's difficult. And it's difficult to put it out there, and even me coming on, you know, we talked a lot about it before I did, and I had to have her on board because, you know, I'm going to put things out there that are, you know, this is the brutal truth, and it's not always pretty, but this is, you know, this is life, and, you know, people go through these things and they learn from them, and you know, she was 24 years old and she made a mistake, and, you know, it's, you know, it happens.
So your wife's name?
Megan.
Megan.
Yes.
So I just want to say, Megan, thank you for letting your husband tell the story. Thank you for letting the truth get out there. It would be, I'd encourage you to go ahead and write something and communicate in some means so that we can understand your point of view. It would be helpful. So thank you. You've both been very transparent. You've been honest and open with the community, which I think is always a good thing. It takes guts, it takes courage, it takes transparency to do that.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity. I think this is definitely a great way to communicate with the citizens, and to, you know, put yourself out there and say, this is me. This is, you know, we all have, you know, we all have life, and we all, you know, live, and
we are all flawed. We all make
absolutely.
mistakes. We all learn from those mistakes. I get my wonderful, profound principles from children's stories. And one of my favorite stories is Meet the Robinsons, where a little guy learns to celebrate his mistakes because that's how he learns. It makes us all better. We all do that. We're all human, and we can help. Our mistakes can help someone else. That is some good that can come from that.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for sharing.
Thanks for having me on.
Yep.